Mummies, they are not scary. Like, think about it. They just walk around. I do that. People are scared of me. The reason why they became scary nowadays is because of a single movie. You may have heard of it, I'm not sure. It's called The Mummy. Very popular movie. Now let's focus on the reason why that movie did so insanely well. That they made not one, but two sequels. They made this movie into a trequel. But let's focus on interesting things, okay? Egyptians. Why they mummify, how do they do it, and how does it work? So, why they mummify? Now, Egyptians mummified for many different reasons, but the most important reason is that they wanted to have a good afterlife. Of course, it was more than that, because they wanted to show respect to the pharaoh. They wanted to show respect by getting the best possible afterlife, so that they would be able to live peacefully in, their afterlife. According to HistoryPlex.com, they believed that death led a person to the afterlife, where he or she would lead an immortal existence. But for this afterlife to happen, it was necessary to preserve the body of the deceased, so that the soul could identify the body that it belonged to. By preserving the body in the way they did, it would allow the pharaoh, when in the afterlife, to identify his body, so he would be able to recognize it. If the body was completely wrecked, he would never be able to recognize it, and thus never be able to enter the afterlife. That's why it was of utmost importance to be able to preserve the body after it's dead. Speaking of which, how do they do that? Alright, green screen off. Now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how to mummify someone. But before I do, I want to talk about the historical inaccuracies behind The Mummy. The Mummy, you know the movie? First of all, I want to talk about how mummifying someone alive never happened. It's not real. So, if it were real, that would have been very painful. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to be mummifying someone alive. If only I had a dead body. Okay, I guess I have that body now. Alright, now, Tabernacle TV powers over here. Oh, we have a dead body here now. That's great. Now what we're going to do is, I'm going to mummify it. First things first, we're going to remove all the organs, like the brain and the stomach and the liver. We're going to keep the heart in, because we need that. That's what's going to be used by Osiris to measure your truth against the feather of truth. Now what we're going to do is, we're going to start the mummifying process by removing the brain with a hook through the nose. Alright? What we're going to do, now we have our brain out, we're going to put in a jar of its own. Let's pretend I have a jar here, okay? Oh, the jar. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to remove the stomach with a knife right here. We're going to remove the stomach. Not our jar. Liver, not our jar. Heart stays in. Okay, repeat after me. Heart stays in. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to lay the body in a bed of salts to dry it out. That way it doesn't decompose. And we're going to do this for 42 days. So, salt. Now, we're going to time lapse of the body in salt. You'll notice how it will shrivel up and get frail because of osmosis. You probably learned some biology. It's going to happen. Now. Alright, now the body's all shriveled up after 42 days. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to start the mummifying process. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap the body in linens. And And while we wrap the body, we're going to be putting in amulets in the body, inside while wrapping it, so it will be able to have so it'll be able to have some trinkets and powers in the afterlife that will help it on its journey. Like while we're wrapping, we'll maybe put an amulet here, maybe one here, and maybe one here. All right, I don't know. Now what we're gonna do is now we take the wrapped body and you place it in a sarcophagus. Or however you say it, I don't know. I'm not Egyptian. Now we're going to take the body, it's in sarcophagus, and now everything is in here. We're going to take the body into the tomb. It's one of the actual real reasons behind what happened with King Tut. Now what's going to happen is what happened there was the body. He was such a young leader and such a bad leader. No one cared about him, so that's why there's when he was buried with all the riches and stuff that he was buried with, no one robbed him because he was buried so far away from where everyone else was buried because he is so little known and terrible that no one knew about him. But a few centuries later, when some white men came in and dug up the area and they found the body, they found that everything is still intact, which was a great because that had never been done before, never been found before. Okay, this is the first time it ever happened. Okay, now what happened was they found all this stuff, and that's why King Tut is the most famous mummy as he is today. All right, now I want to talk to you about what happens after in afterlife. I've been talking about the afterlife for many times, and I think I mentioned Osiris once and measuring the feather of truth something. And this is when I'm going to explain that. Okay, what's going to happen is when you're mummified is you go to afterlife. Okay, and into the afterlife you want to be able to find your body. That's the whole point of mummification, is to preserve the body. So in the afterlife you can find your body again. The dead person, I mean. Now what's going to happen is when you're going to find a bunch of the different things that are buried with you are going to be there. Okay, so that's what we want to be able to go on a journey. It's going to be a long journey when you're in afterlife. You're going to be trekking across the entire place. It's been very, very difficult. That's why you have all this stuff, because you're rich and you can have all this stuff with you. Okay, like the trinkets that you were buried with, it'll help you with the journey because it'll help you travel across the journey. What's going to happen next is you reach Osiris's boat. Now in the boat, Osiris is going to have a weigh scale where in one plate it's empty and another plate is a feather. This feather is known as the feather of truth. It's what your heart is measured against. This is the reason why your heart is left in the mummy. Now what happens is if your heart weighs less than the feather of truth, which means that the feather is lighter is heavier than the heart, you're doomed. If it's not, you're safe, and you gotta move on. In this last part of this video, I want to talk about natural mummification. Right? You see mummified stuff all the time, like cavemen, Neanderthals. That's actually where you got the first. That's how we found one of the first Neanderthals, or how you pronounce it. We found it because they were mummified, because they died in the snow. Well, the interesting thing is their skull was actually cracked, leading us to believe that they were probably either crushed or they were killed. Which, either way, it's interesting, and we know that because they were mummified in the extreme cold. Now, speaking of coldness, mummification can happen in the cold or salty areas, okay? That's why it actually works best there. But if you're in a desert, like the Egyptians were, then it's much harder because the hot desert climate makes it harder for the body to stay preserved. That's why the Egyptians went through all these different types of processes to make sure that the body would stay preserved. And then they wrapped the body and dried the body so that no bacteria would get to it. By wrapping the body, they would make sure that no bacteria could get into the body and decompose it. In conclusion, that is why the Egyptians mummified, how they mummified, and the reasons what happens after you are mummified. Thanks for watching. If you want to click here, subscribe, This is my latest video, from like a few years ago. And this is my school playlist. Click on it if you want to see more school videos. Anyways, goodbye.